Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for April 26, 2023, the BAT Pays edition. And we begin with that story from the Financial Times as the British American Tobacco, or BAT, has agreed to pay a $635 million fine over North Korea sanctions breaches. The sanctions relate to business activities in North Korea between 2007 and 2017. A DPA was struck between BAT and the DOJ. The BAT also agreed to a civil settlement with OFAC and as well. BAT's chief executive apologized for the conduct and said that BAT had transformed its compliance and ethics program. So pretty unbelievable. The one country we've had sanctions for a long time is North Korea. It's hard to believe BAT would allow that to happen. Next up, from the New York Times Deal book, the calculus behind the firing of Tucker Carlson. Well, he engaged in some pretty conduct that was, quote, too hot to handle. The Dominion lawsuit unearthed private comments by Carlson where he profanely disparaged colleagues, sources, and his bosses. So if you put that in an email, you pretty much are made your own bed to lay in. Next up from Reuters, Coinbase files a legal challenge to push the SEC to write rules on crypto. It filed a petition in an effort to compel the SEC to create new rules for digital assets in its latest escalation of the cryptocurrency exchange's tensions with the securities regulator. So think about that for a minute. They want the SEC to put rules in place. The SEC says, we've got rules in place that cover you, buckaroo. And finally, from the great state of Michigan, the Detroit News, a first-time contributor to the Daily Compliance News, the ex-Michigan House of Representatives Speaker, Rick Johnson, faces up to 10 years behind bars after pleading guilty to accepting bribes as he led a state board with the power to decide which businesses got into the burgeoning marijuana trade in Michigan. He is the second person to admit criminal wrongdoing in a wide-ranging probe on this issue by state and federal authorities. The investigation has reported ongoing. On March 30, Johnson signed a plea agreement vowing to cooperate with federal prosecutors as the probe continues. He is clearly the most prominent figure, but if he's going to cooperate, you probably think that there might be some others, even above him, who are in the government's eyeglass for this very public corruption. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.